Welcome to White on Rice Eats. I'm Shay.
And I'm Kimmy.
And today we got a bunch of assortments of tacos here. Tacos make us really happy. This was actually the last thing that we went to eat with our friends before the whole pandemic and lockdown happened. So this is going to be a real nice meal. Kind of remind us of some times where we were able to hang out with some of our friends and eat some stuff like that. So if you want to see us eat more tacos, or if you like what you see, tell us what your favorite type of taco is in the comments below, as well as let us know what else you want to eat, or what else you want us to eat, and give us a thumbs up if you like it.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Okay. Alright, so what we have going on here, I'm not sure what everything is anymore after the setup. But I do know for sure, this is lengua over here.
Which is beef tongue.
This is barbacoa.
Which is... oh gosh, I can't remember. I think it's some braised beef or braised pork, I think.
We do have some pastor here. Chicken.
Pork.
Right here. And I think there's some more pastor up here, and then carnitas, and there's also some fajita over here. So I guess, yeah, that's pretty much everything. So,
and then we have a bunch of sauces here. So sour cream.
It's crema. It's not actually sour cream.
It's different.
It's crema, so it's a little bit different. And we have some elotes as well right here, and a couple of different hot sauces or salsas as well to go on it, and a ton of limes.
I love limes. It's like a Vietnamese thing.
And tacos are not complete without a nice margarita. I didn't have a glass to put it in so that you could actually see it, but I wanted to have something that would keep it nice and cold, so we have this metal cup here. Tasty. Alrighty, you want to go ahead and dig in?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take a bite of this. This has been looking at me and staring at me for a minute.
The first time I ever had elotes was like a year ago. And never had it before because I used to live in West Virginia, so it's like there's not a lot of variety there. And so the first time I saw one of my photographers had it, I was like, that smells really weird. And I don't mean weird as in a bad way. I mean, it just smelled really different and interesting. But then I was like, whenever I haven't ever tasted anything, I want to try it. So I saw on the menu one time, I was like, oh, I've heard of elotes. That's what my photographer had. I really want to try it. And it tastes so much better than it smells.
Oh.
It smells like very cheesy, very
I get that.
Pungent, but it tastes really good.
All right, so I'm ready to dig in. I think I want to start with one of those over there.
What? Do you want me to set it for you?
No.
Or make it for you?
No, grab it. Just grab a hold of it. Get a nice... Ooh, yeah. There we go. You can see that. And it's got onions and cilantro on it. And do you mind handing me a fork over there just in case? And I think I'm going to go ahead and squeeze one of these on there. Just a nice small one. It's going to be a little bit... Ooh.
I'm going to start with the same thing, just so we can have the same experience. I think that will be very interesting to hear what you think. Let me try this sauce. What is this?
There's like a...
It's like a mild spice.
Mm-hmm. Should be. There's like a red and a green, I think.
Ooh. Ooh, yeah,
that's
hot. That's hot. That's for you.
That.
Well, it's not too hot, but it's definitely hotter.
Let me give me a little taste of it.
Yeah, taste it. And this is Valentina, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do like that sauce.
Very tasty.
And we already dressed it with a bunch of onion and cilantro because yummy, yummy, yummy.
Gotta have that on tacos. When I ordered these, I thought these were going to be much smaller, so when they came out, they were really big. These are like much bigger than your typical street taco. So,
There you go.
I forgot the crema.
Yeah, I know. I was like, how can you forget that?
I just didn't even think about it, and I'm getting taco everywhere.
It's okay. Let's talk about it. Did you get it somewhere? Look at that. Full stuffed taco. Okay, my first real bite.
Very tasty. But I'm excited to see what else is going on there, because I think that's definitely braised beef. It's not pork for sure. Looks very good. But
Pastor is pork, I think.
yeah. We were talking about different experiences with the taco tasting. So, how's that experience for you?
It's soft. The meat is very soft. This isn't too spicy. It's not actually that bad. I might have to use this next time if I want a little bit more kick.
Yeah, I didn't find it
the
to be
crema has a really light, lightness to it. I don't know. It's just good. How do you explain what the taste of meat is?
It's not, okay, so it's not super juicy to me. It didn't seem like it was super juicy, but it's nice and tender, not like dry and hard, so it's pretty good. But it's not like super, super juicy, so,
if you want something a little bit neater and less juicy.
But as far as different experiences goes, everybody has a different experience going through life. And I think today we wanted to talk about our different experiences in high school, because me and Kimmy, we've talked about it before, but we've definitely had different experiences from each other. And I think by the time that I reached high school, I had kind of been able to grow out of certain things, or things just stop happening. And then again, my high school was just a different experience. I think we had, and this was a long time ago for me now, so I feel really old.
You went to high school in Texas. I went to high school in West Virginia.
So I had a lot of thoughts about high school going into it, because I was under the impression that it was going to be very difficult. And for the most part, my experience wasn't an extremely bad one. Most of the people were fairly nice, but and I was always involved in sports, so I know a lot of people have bad experiences with the people involved in sports, so they're not necessarily always the nicest people. But from my experience, the ones that I was with, in the football and wrestling and stuff like that, we all kind of looked out for each other, and we kind of looked out for a lot of other people. And a lot of my friends from high school, because I don't really keep in contact with anybody anymore, just because, I don't know, I wasn't really ever attached to anybody in my own grade. I was always friends with the people who were grades ahead of me. I was always, hung out with those people. So by the time I reached my senior year, I had senioritis by the time I was a junior, because all the friends that I had left whenever I was a junior were all seniors. And so when they left, I was kind of like by myself. And I think a lot of that had to do with that, my brother was one grade ahead of me, so a lot of his friends ended up being my friends, because we did a lot of the same things. We were, in the sports and all that. But a lot of the guys that were in the athletic groups in my school were mainly a lot of the guys who were kind of, I would call them regulators or enforcers, because we kind of looked out for everybody, I think. And we kind of shut down, especially if it was happening, if one of the guys that was within our sports groups or anything like that, if we saw them doing something rather unsavory to someone else, we shut it down pretty quick. One instance that I can remember was on the wrestling team, we had taken a water break, and one of the wrestlers, he had a girlfriend at the time, and he had grabbed her by the throat and slammed her into the lockers. And I mean, I don't mean like in a flirtatious way. I mean like he angrily slammed her into the lockers. And the entirety of the wrestling group that was there, we all saw it, and we walked down there, and we're just kind of like, take your hands off of her and don't touch her again. If we see you do that again, we're going to promptly kick your butt. Not in those, necessarily in those words. So it was really interesting, because I know a lot of people have trouble with the jocks and, you know, people who are in the athletic groups as being kind of the perpetrators of those kinds of things, like in that particular instance. But I think a lot of the people that I was around, we kind of took care of those kinds of things and made sure that they didn't happen, and we tried to cut down the bullying as much as possible, which I think was a good thing. But then we promptly gave him a roughing up back when we finished our break. We, you know, kind of threw him around a little bit in the wrestling room, just to kind of, you know, be like, hey, you know, that's not a right thing to do. And maybe, you know, throwing him around, we didn't hurt him, but we wrestled with him, and we kind of like pinned him, you know, essentially, you know, kind of put him in his place a little bit, and like, hey, you know, that's not the right thing to do. But we did it, you know, within our athletic group. Now, it's not like we hauled off and beat him up. We just did our wrestling moves, because, you know, technically there were some of us who were better wrestlers than him. So we just kind of, you know, made him know that, you know, hey, there's always someone bigger than you, and if you want to pick on somebody, then we're going to pick on you, or, you know, toss you around in here. So, you know, stop what you're doing and treat everybody right, essentially.
I love to say I think you're a bit biased, because I feel like if you're in that group, you don't think it's that bad, but I'm sure think about it, to the girl that happened to, it happened from a jock. So, in her eyes, she's always probably going to, I've used that one. Oh. She's always going to see jocks probably as like buttholes, so.
Not necessarily, because like after it happened, she was actually grateful that we kind of stepped in and we shut it down before anything else could happen. It's like we didn't know what was going on prior to that, so we weren't able to stop it beforehand. But after that particular instance, we were able to stop it. So
you didn't know it beforehand, so that's what I'm saying. There might have been stuff going on.
Oh yeah, but I think like it kind of.
You guys were the good jocks, but there's plenty of bad
jocks. Yeah, there's plenty of bad ones, I know. But that's what I'm saying, is like I think at my particular school, the majority of the ones that I knew of, I never really saw any of them really picking on anybody. A lot of them were very polite, very, you know, even if they hurt you in practice, they were, you know, like, oh man, I'm so sorry, you know, are you okay? You know, it's like a lot of the guys that I knew, we were all very close knit. Now there were some, and you know, honestly, it wasn't the football players that were ever a-holes. I think a lot of the a-holes came from the baseball team, and that's really odd. But a lot of the a-holes that I knew, they were on the baseball team then.
So I was kind of in an opposite position. I was that very nerdy, shy girl growing up. So and the thing is, no one ever really. I think what people forget about high school is sometimes people are straight up rude to you and like really mean, yes. But most of the time you're really put down by things that aren't even right up front. Like boys would tease me all the time, and it's like their way of flirting, but it really put me down. So that until college, anytime somebody flirted with me or asked me out, I believed it was a prank. And I was like, what's going on? Why is this person showing me attention? Like, what's the trick here? Because in 7th grade, I know that's not high school, but still school drama, I had a crush on this really popular boy, and there was a rumor that spread that he liked me back. So, of course, I'm super excited. Well, him and I met up during like one of the breaks, so there's like tons of people crowded around us. So all his guy friends are watching, and so it was like a public display almost. And he was like, "Oh, it's just a prank." So I was like humiliated in front of like all these like jocks and like football players and soccer players. So after that, it's like anytime anyone asked me out or flirted with me, I'm just like, leave me alone. So I put my guard up and I would be rude back to them because it's just like, I wouldn't believe anyone would like me. But the funny thing is, there is a good outcome. He has like messaged me and stuff now, wanting attention from me, and it's just kind of funny. Be like, you snooze, you lose, like kind of thing. Like I was like an ugly duckling, kind of. I think I bloomed more in the later years of high school, early college.
Agreed for me as well. Although I just had a different situation, I guess. And while we're on that, I experienced bullying in my own way, but mine was much different, and it came long before high school ever came around.
I just wanted to say, this one is really good.
Yes, it is fantastic.
I was going to say, so juicy. Which one is this one? Lengua?
That's lengua.
Oh, it's so juicy. I love cow's tongue. I know.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never tried it, give it a chance.
It's a lot better than what you think. And you're not... Okay, so the process to actually cooking cow's tongue is you boil it first, and it has this tongue skin on it. But then after you boil it, you peel the skin of the tongue off of, and that's what the cow actually...
It's just a piece of muscle.
Yeah, and so underneath that, it's like the skin's off, so it's just the muscle underneath. You're not actually, putting the part that actually tasted their food, essentially in your mouth. You never do. It's just the meat underneath the skin.
Who cares?
And either way, I don't really care. It's really good.
You clean it, you wash it, you boil it, you cook off all the germs.
Mm-hmm. But, so, as far as my experiences with bullying, I actually did have them too, but mine never came from students, because generally, up until I got into high school, I was relatively large. I was always, relatively stocky for my age group, and I was, I guess just not too many people messed with me until I was in the 6th grade, and I started at a different school in the 6th grade, and this was before, 6th grade was still elementary school, and I came into a school with a group of people who had been together since they were in kindergarten, and I knew nobody, and as soon as I came in there, it was pretty much immediately ostracized, and the bullying didn't start with the kids, it started with the teachers. And it was one teacher in particular, I can't even remember her first name, I don't care anymore, but she was my math teacher, and she was convinced that I was just dumb as a bag of hammers, which I proved her absolutely wrong, but it was kind of like one of those moments, and it's affected me a lot growing up, because the people that I was supposed to go to for help essentially was the people who instigated the bullying, who started the bullying. And it's kind of like, where do you go to when the teachers are the ones who are being... And I was never a bad kid. I was never a bad student. It was like the most thing that I would get in trouble for would be maybe talking in class every once in a while, but not like super often. But yeah, so it's like, where do you go to when the teachers are the ones who are doing the bullying? Who do you talk to? There's no one that you can talk to. And then, your parents can't be with you. Both my parents work, and they can't be with me 100% of the day to make sure things are okay. And then when you go to the principal was protecting the teachers, didn't want them to get in trouble, so I had no one to really turn to. So it was really, that year was probably one of the loneliest years of my entire life. I felt horrible, and it was a really bad year for me. It got a little bit better once I got into middle school, different group of people, but the kids kind of stopped. They kind of changed after that point, and I don't know why. It's just, I guess we all just kind of, maybe they grew up a little bit and they stopped messing with me as much. That, and I started kind of, defending myself a little bit better, and but I wasn't going to take anything from the kids anyways, but from the teachers, I just didn't know what to do because they were the adults, and it's not like you can defend yourself against an adult in school and, not get in trouble for it, because then it's, you'll get, sent to the office or in trouble one way or the other, because if you say something back to them, then you're talking back and being disrespectful. But it's kind of but they were the ones who were starting it in the first place. So that was my experience with bullying, and it was really hard. And the main thing that it's affected me was that I didn't want to ever ask for help since that, because it's like at that point it kind of ingrained into me, because I had a lot of teachers who were like that. It made me not want to ask for help. It made me not want to ask anybody for help, because I felt like it's always that underlying feeling of I shouldn't be asking for help, because it was the wrong thing to do, because I couldn't ask for help in the classroom then, and that was for an entire year. And then like I said, I had other teachers before that were not quite as bad, but still kind of picked on me a lot. And so it just kind of made me not want to seek help from people, and that's not right. It's not a good thing. So I think sometimes teachers get overlooked as the ones who are causing problems sometimes, and sometimes the schools are just protect them. So that's just my experience. Definitely one of the harder times in my life.
This one's not my favorite.
Which one is that?
I'm not sure.
Where'd you get it from?
Over here.
Oh, that's the pastor. That's the pork.
It's really dry.
Yeah. Sauce it up.
Also, I decided to go with one taco shell instead of two, because it's a lot of carbs.
We'll eat it up.
It's a lot to chew.
That's right. We'll need it. We've been staying steady with our workouts, and my old workout partner's been coming over. He's been over about twice now to work out. Once with us, and he actually did our workout with us, which seemed like he had a good time and really enjoyed it. And it's really difficult, but no, he came over twice and worked out with us. Yeah, because we did it 2 days in a row. We did it Thursday and Friday, which I'm glad he's coming over to work out with us, because he lives by himself, and he's a really good friend of mine. Hopefully you get to meet him eventually. He's a former professional wrestler for the WWE. And I've been talking about wanting to get him here to eat with me as well. So we have another big personality with us. But yeah, he came and worked out with us, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah, so this will all go towards working out, so don't worry about it. We'll just turn it into gobs and gobs of muscle.
Okay.
This one's really good too.
Yes? I did have another, I guess it's kind of drama, but not bullying. After your 15-minute story.
Sorry.
I think you're forgetting to eat. Don't forget to fill up your tum-tum. In middle school, in high school, okay, there was one, drama. High school, I always worked really hard, so high school was actually really hard for me, because I stressed about the SATs and ACTs, and I had to take all the AP classes. I had to make sure I got all the straight A's, so I was a smart kid. When I say smart kid, I was just really hardworking. As soon as the teacher gave you the assignment in class, I'd start doing it right there, because I wanted to get done with it as much as I was always the work hard so you could finish it first and play later. But that's the thing, is there'd be more work, so I just always be working. There was this big kind of exam where 4 or 5 different schools all in the county, or maybe the state, would compete, and you would sign up for a test or assessment or dance audition, or not audition, but yeah, basically you'd be scored to see if you place first, second, or third in all of these schools in the state. And so if you our chemistry teacher said if you signed up and you placed first or second, you would get bonus points. And I always wanted bonus points for everything. So
didn't need them.
So I signed up like the first thing in the morning, and people assumed I cheated because how could she possibly get there first thing in the morning? But it's like I woke up early for everything. Like a high school year, I would wake up 4 a.m. to study for an hour and then get to school early to get to lab to do extra work and ask the teacher how to do stuff or questions that I didn't understand in the homework assignment the night before. So people started assuming I was cheating. They're like, oh, that makes sense why she's getting such good grades, because she's cheating all the time. And it hurt me so bad because I felt so misunderstood that all this hard work I was putting in, people just automatically assumed I was cheating. And I would literally get so very little hours of sleep to where I was getting sleep paralysis, and I would cry because I got a B or something. Like, it was ridiculous, yes, but I just felt so bad that people assumed, and my best friends at the moment didn't do shit. Like, they were the kind of friends that were fair-weathered friends. Like, if you were in trouble, they'd just be like, oh, we're here for you, but we're not going to stand up for you. So I felt so lonely. I, like, cried during that week of that happening and stuff, and, like, people were teasing me about it in the chemistry lab, and I remember one guy teasing me about it, and I was about on the verge of tears, and he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, people didn't realize how cruel they were being. Like, the kids didn't realize how cruel they were being. Yeah.
They rarely do. Mm-hmm. They don't understand the impact of what they do until it happens to them.
I hate being misunderstood, because the intention's always good. I'm always just trying to work hard. I want to put my stuff in, and people just, she can't possibly get 102%, so she must be cheating. So, yep.
It's really interesting that we're talking about this, considering that right now I'm actually I'm watching the second the second season of 13 Reasons Why. It's a very, very controversial, but it's got it makes a lot of good points, and it kind of shows a lot of things. And it's like, I knew bullying was bad, and I knew it was a thing because, yeah, it happened to me, but my experience, I was able to get through it okay, and, I survived, and I made things work out for myself, and things changed for me later, and but it's just such a, man, that show. It's sometimes the first season was really hard for me to get through. The second season, not so much, but it just kind of sheds light on the reality of things that actually happen that a lot of people are afraid to talk about. So. Just think about it the next time you think you're picking on somebody and you think it's all in good fun, but they may be really hurting deep down inside, and it's not something to be taken lightly.
And another thing too is if you're on the end of it, like, it won't matter in like so-and-so years when you graduate. It all doesn't matter. Like, grades, some of it matters, but it's kind of like when you're during the moment, it feels like this is it. This is my life. This is so important. But it's like, it's not that important once you get past it. It passed. It will pass. And I'm not saying just let it be. Just figure out how to handle it the best way you can.
And don't be afraid to talk about your problems.
Whether it be talking about it, whether it be telling that person like, hey, you hurt my feelings, or sorry, taco. Or whatever it is, don't be afraid to handle it in whatever way that's healthiest for you. Like, I don't think you should just let it go, unless letting it go is really like, ugh, whatever, and you really don't care about it. But it will pass.
And the grass is definitely greener. It definitely gets better.
For me, I feel like it definitely got better, because all those people who doubted me and who who made me, just because I was different. That's the thing, is you should never make somebody feel bad just because they're different. But that's how society is. Anything that's different, people will make you feel bad for it. Whether you get straight A's or whether you get the worst grades. It's like you have to be mediocre in life for no one to make fun of you.
Yeah. If you're too good, then you're just, something has to be wrong. And if you're a little too out there, then you're weird and you're odd, and everybody has feelings, and people forget that, and that you wouldn't want to be treated the same way that you're treating somebody else. That's just the main thing to take away from it. Is treat others the way you want to be treated. And I think I've always tried to do that. And I'm not perfect, so I make mistakes along the way. We all do. But just love thy neighbor.
And every time I felt alone, and anytime my friends at the time, ex-friends now, did anything and they didn't stand up for me or anything like that, I would just tell in my head, I wasn't petty about it. Because if you're petty about something,
he got me in the eye. Go ahead.
Careful. If you're petty about it, that just means you're kind of, squeeze it this way. Squeeze it long ways.
What do you mean?
Like this.
Oh, that's not the way I squeeze it. I just...
Well, then there won't be juices, or hold it like this and squeeze it.
Ooh, that hurt something awful. It went right in my eye.
Because if you're petty about it, I feel, or you try to get revenge, then you're kind of letting that person win over your life even more by dwelling on it and bringing in more negative energy. Sometimes you have to do what's justice and be like, hey, that wasn't nice, or I don't want to be your friend anymore because of that, but then you let it go. So, oh, sorry. Ow. So, every time something like that happened to me, I just, in my head, just watch. Just watch. And so, it was kind of, to me, it's more of a satisfying, revenge is fine, you guys think I'm that way, just watch, I'm going to make something out of myself, and I'm going to become happy. I kill them with my happiness, basically. When people start seeing you happy, they kind of get jealous. The people who are really below you, they want to bring you down. And, so it kills them more to see you happy, so that's what I do. I just try to be happy, just find ways to keep on going, be happy, and I've helped him with that, you a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so now it's so much more refreshing to just be like, okay, whatever, just watch, and then when you become happy, they're like, oh, hey!
Yeah.
Hey, friend! Hey! And it's so satisfying to be like, you snooze, you lose.
Ooh, that's hot.
The green sauce. Yeah.
So good. I really do like this one.
I like the lingua. I haven't tried that one yet. I'm getting full.
Yeah, me too. That's so much here. I thought they were going to be smaller. Normally, I could usually eat about 10 street tacos or more in one sitting, but these were so much bigger than what I was expecting, which is fantastic because they're very delicious, but they're very filling as well, and plus they got
two layers. I know, that's why I was like, I can only do one layer of tortilla, but it's a mukbang. You gotta buy a lot of food, but we're not used to eating this much. Okay, what is the weirdest out there thing you've done or most embarrassing memory of school?
Most embarrassing memory of school? I guess the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me is I farted in class one time, like straight up, and the teacher that I had at the time, he had this thing where I mean, he wanted to write me up. He wanted me to, I'm sure he would have been happy if I had been suspended for a day for it. And it wasn't like it was a bad thing, and it wasn't like it was, because nobody said anything about anything stinking, or it wasn't that bad. But he had, and I guess he did say, like, hey, if you got to do that, step out of class. But this was just kind of one of those things where it's like, it just happened. Wasn't expecting it, and it was just like, boom. And I was like, whoa. Like, I didn't expect that to happen. And, like, he...
you still do that.
Yeah, it still happens. I mean, but he got so pissed off. And it's like, he called my parents, and they were like, what? Like... You want him to, you want to get him in so much trouble over this? Like, it's a bodily function. It happens. Like, nobody died. Nobody got seriously injured. So...
Maybe the person behind you.
No, not even. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it wasn't bad.
I get seriously.
I mean, I get it, though. I mean, nobody wants to smell somebody else's flatulence. I mean, you always like your own brand, but that... To me, that was kind of... he made it a lot bigger than what it needed to be.
He was probably having a bad day.
He was always having a bad day.
He was unhappy in life.
Maybe. I don't know.
I would have to say the most embarrassing thing for me probably was the one time I ran down the hallway with my skirt tucked into the backside of my panties. Thankfully, I was still wearing panties at the time, and I don't think I was wearing thongs yet. Actually, I don't know for sure, but I think so. It was 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, maybe like 9th or 10th grade. And I had just finished going to the restroom. I had a skirt on, and I was joking with somebody, and I took their backpack or something, like, as a fun, like, it was a friend of mine, like, took their backpack for fun, and so I was running down the hallway, or they took mine and I was running after them or something like that. But it was like, it was in between, like, it was right, like, next, like, so there was a lot of people in the hallway, so it was in between, like, time for, like, next class or next period. So I got to my seat and then, like, into the library, and I was like, I realized my skirt had been up my panties.
Yeah. You see, I never really had that many embarrassing things in high school, because I think at that point in time, it's like I had gotten past that.
Well, that's why that was the only big one, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I think by the time I hit high school, when I was actually in there, after my freshman year, I was like, I didn't have that shame wizard. I don't think I really cared that much anymore. Because, I mean, whenever I was in high school, I was always in sports, but then after we would get done with football practice, or sometimes, like, when we get done with wrestling practice, I would go and take a shower, and then you could see me walking back, into the wrestling room, and I would be walking through the halls of the school in just my boxers, and I would not even care, and, like, no one would say anything to me. They'd just be kind of like, okay, and I was like, whatever.
Also, it just depends on how confident and how, like, open you are, like, because you can grow up into your adulthood being embarrassed of every single thing. But I think it is freeing to not really care to a point where if it doesn't hurt anybody, yeah, like, if you don't care. But if you're hurting somebody and you don't care, that's different. But, like, I remember when I would trip down the hall, those things were, like, so embarrassing. But then later on, I realized it's really not that embarrassing. But the panties things, like, that is embarrassing to me, because that's kind of like, you didn't mean for it to happen. Your boxers, you meant for it to happen. You were like, yeah, like, you were ready for it.
Yeah.
And I was still very shy until my junior/senior year of high school. So
I think I did have one incident where I was like, something happened and it looked really bad, but it was not that at all. So I was sitting in one of my history classes, and there was a girl right across from me. She's a very pretty girl. She's like a Dallas cheerleader, dancer, or Dallas Cowboys like dance squad or something like that. And she was sitting across from me. She was wearing a skirt this day, and I wasn't even thinking about it, and I didn't even care at the time. And I was like daydreaming. and I guess like I must have been tired or something, but I was like daydreaming, and so we had those desks that just had the top here, but it didn't have like a arm thing here, so you could like slide through, and I just like kind of like slipped off like that and almost fell, and then I had to catch my hand on the floor and it was like boom, and it was like whoa, and I kind of like caught myself, and the teacher was like what the hell, and I bounced back up real quick and was looking around, and then one of the guys sitting next to me, he saw that she was wearing a skirt and was like man, he was like, you're so dirty, and I was like, what? No. And then I think she even thought that I was doing it too, because she immediately crossed her legs, and I was like, I'm so sorry, because that's not what it was, because I didn't even see what happened or anything that was going on down there. I was completely in another world, and that happened a lot to me when I was in high school. I daydreamed so much, and so when something like that happened, I was like, I'm sorry, I was miles away. I wasn't even in here, so I saw nothing. I don't know what was going on there. So I felt really bad about it because I didn't want her to feel self-conscious and like I was violating her.
Those are the little things that happen that you don't think about. Like people just take the wrong way by accident, or you do it and accidentally comes off the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah, so that one was one of those things that I was not trying to let happen, and it just kind of was.
I hate when that happens, like when you're just kind of like daydreaming and something, and then like you realize you're staring at someone else's crotch, and you're like, oh, like you don't even mean to, and you're just like, so. Yeah.
So, that was not an intentional thing, and it just happened to happen. I mean, at that point in time, would I have liked to see her undercarriage? Probably. But was I looking? No, I was not. Dirty, very dirty. How are you feeling?
I am full.
You're full?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty good right now. This was very tasty. We didn't get to eat all of everything. We kind of like picked at what we liked the most, mainly. But make sure to comment down below, like I said, other things you want to see us eat, as well as, if you feel like talking to somebody or you need to talk to us about what's going on. Comment down below, reach out to us. We're, we would like to help and talk, as well as...
Our emails are in the description below. And then also, if you want to, ask us questions or story times that you'd like to hear, let us know down below, too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, make sure to like and subscribe.